Hello and welcome to another Blender Know-How tutorial, and in this video we're going to learn how to create a pencil. Right? I know it seems kind of weird, but why not, right? Pencils there's some unique shapes to them, and there's a lot of learning opportunities with it actually. So yeah, we're going to be creating this. Um, let's go ahead and open up a brand new project within Blender. So I'm going to get out of there, and I'm going to delete the cube, and I'm going to hit Shift A, add, and I'm going to do a cylinder. You might be wondering why. Well, let me pull this back open. I'm going to just explain some of the thought process that I went through while creating this the first time. I went through and I counted the edges, and there are there are 6 edges of this, which means that there are 2, 4, 6 of these kind of edges, or I guess 6 planes, 6 edges. And then this is round, but it's also connected to this in this kind of interesting shape. So we'll have to do some of that. And then I just put some simple shapes back here. So let's go ahead and try this out. So let's change this to 6 vertices. We're already halfway there. No, not really actually. I'm going to hit R, rotate 90 degrees, and this is all while I'm in the 3 numpad view, which is the right orthographic. And then I'm going to go into edit mode and go into wireframe by hitting the Z. Now I'm going to select these, hit G, and lock them to the Y axis, and then I'm just going to roughly make the shape of the pencil. Also, something else to consider, let me see if I can pull open a picture of, so I also, just for reference, I grabbed some pencils like this just from the internet. You can look for pictures like this on the internet. In fact, this one right here is going to be the one that we do the most with. So I just think about this one. It's good to consider, and it'll be used. It's good to have a picture next to when you're working. So if you have another monitor, maybe put this on the other monitor, or if you could print it out. Honestly, that'd be just fine. So I'm going to move it over here on my monitor. Sorry, you won't be able to see it, but I want to be able to use as much screen space on this as possible. Okay, so I'm just going to make this roughly the same dimensions as that. They don't have to be perfect. It's fine. Now I'm going to come over here, and maybe I'll put this back into solid mode and then go into modifiers and click on a subdivision modifier. You might be wondering why. Well, if we look at the picture, these edges, just like any other edge on Earth, is not actually that sharp. So I'm going to crank that up a little bit and hit Control R, and this will add a loop cut. I'm just going to click and slide it all the way to the end, and do the same with this side as well. Cool. Now we're getting closer. You might also wonder why this is coming down. We can fix that. Let's just select this very far edge. If you can't get it just by clicking on it like that, just hit Alt and then click on an edge, and it'll select all of the edges like that. And then hit E on your notepad, right click, and hit S to scale it down. And then that will make the edge a little bit more crisp. And let's do the same thing with this side. Also, if you're not in wireframe, you won't be able to select these. So that's probably why I wasn't selecting them in the first place last time. So let's try that again. Yep, it worked. And then just hit E, right click, S, scale it down a little bit. Okay, we have the, I don't know what that's called, the pencil shaft. And then let's do some of this kind of fun stuff. So now we have a problem. If we look at this one that I rendered out, we have this, and this is kind of a tricky situation. Same thing with this one. We kind of have this shape that is it just easily made, I guess. I'm going to go back into solid. But what if we were to make a subdivision right here and pull each of these subdivisions out? I don't know if that made sense, but it will make sense as we do it. So I'm going to click and then right click, Control R, click, right click, and that will position it centered on all of these. Actually, before we do that, sorry, my bad. Undo that if you have already. There's one other thing. Pencils aren't round. I completely neglected to change this. So hit Control R and then scroll up one time and you'll get two lines. It splits it twice. And then do that with each of these. Whoops. So I'm just scrolling up, clicking, right clicking, and it'll center them. Okay, now, like we learned earlier, we can hit Alt and click on one of these lines. And if we hit G and G again, we can slide it. And then I'm just going to put 0.7 negative. And do the same thing with this one. Negative 0.7. Click, grab twice, 0.7 negative, and then do this with each of them. Okay, sweet. So now we have that shape looking more like a pencil shaft. Now let's do like we were going to do earlier and place one in the middle of each of these. You might be thinking this is a lot of loop cutting. It is. And that's okay. That's how a modeler's job is, really. I'm going to go into Wireframe. And we are going to, if I click on one of these and you hit period on your numpad, it will actually center so you can revolve around this edge instead of over here somewhere. It just makes it easier. And then you can position your camera a little bit quicker. Let's see, what was I doing now? Okay, so now I'm just going to take this center piece. Actually, let's do this. Grab each one of these. That's what I was going to do in Wireframe. So I'm selecting each of the middle pieces now. If that view shows you a little bit better of what I selected. I didn't select that side though, just this side. And then I'm going to hit 3, and I'm going to pull it out. And I don't know, somewhere right there. Now if I go into solid, you might be wondering, this looks really stupid. Well, that's okay. And that's because we are only working on this part right here right now. Yeah, so this may not be the best way, but you know, it is a way, and it's fairly easy, honestly, to be able to do and conceptually recreate. Let's see, there's one more thing I was going to do. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm going to undo one step again. Just that. I'm going to hit Alt and click on these, and then hit E, and then right click and scale all the way down. So I can just hit S0. And you might be wondering why I did that. It'll make more sense in a second. But now that those are on the center, I can just go ahead and right click on them and hit merge vertices in the center. And now I have one vertice for all of those, and it just kind of, it created a fan in there. Now we select these. And to select more than one vertice, if you haven't figured that out, you just hold shift down. And then I'm going to lock them to the y-axis and move them a little bit. Yeah, something like that. And then I'm going to grab that center vertice. I'm going to pull it all the way out. Okay. Voila. Now we're getting some of that. We're getting some of that good action right there. So now you'd be wondering, like, this doesn't look like the edge of a pencil though. It's kind of like crooked right here. And you're right. So let's fix it. Let's undo maybe this step right here. Actually, yeah, let's undo it. Let's put this here. I'm going to make it flat here. And now I'm going to hold down Alt and Shift and grab all of that, just the inside fan. So I clicked here, and then I hold down Shift and Alt, and I click on one of these edges. And then I'm gonna hold, not gonna hold down. I'm just gonna hit E for extrude, and that will extrude it out a little bit. And I'm gonna click on this and pull it out, imagining for a quick second before we fix it that this is going to connect all the way with here, because it will. Because now all we gotta do is select that, or if we go to solid, we can just alt click on one of that and it will select the entire thing like that again. And then I'm gonna hit double G, it'll move it up here, double G, and move it down here. And we now have our pencil shape. And you might be wondering, that's a little sharp. You're right, I just noticed that too. So I'm going to go back into edit mode and make sure I have all of those selected and just move them out a little bit further. Sweet. Pencil. So that's the first part of the modeling. Now let's do the back. It's fairly easy. I'm just going to hit, in object mode, Shift A, and then do a cylinder. It's appeared over here. I think I'm just going to leave it with the same amount of vertices. I kind of like it like that. And then R, 90, while in the right orthographic mode, and it will align it with that. And then we come over here and go to the modifier, add modifier, subdivision surface, make it a circle, but I don't really want it to be a circle. Loop cut with Control R in edit mode. And do that to both sides. Then select the edges like that again while in wireframe. Almost forgot to do that. Hit E and right click S to make it smaller. Do the same with this side. E, right click S to make it smaller. And position it right in here. Make it a little bit bigger. This is the end cap, the green part of the pencil over here. And I'm just going to position it right in here. I'm going to crank up some of those divisions as well and shade it smooth. Something right in there. And then I'm going to put it right up against it so that it's just touching it. I don't want it too far in because then it will break the illusion of it bending this in. But if it's touching, it kind of looks like it's pulling it in because of the way we subdivided this. So I think it's actually okay. I'm going to come back into edit mode and go into wireframe, select these, pull them out just a hair. Duplicate this with Shift D and then just make it smaller this way. And so I'm just S-ing for size and then Y to make it this way. And then once you get about the same size, just hit S once and make it a little bit smaller. And then go back into solid view. And voila. Okay, that looks really weird. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller like that. Oh, that actually looks better, I think. So some of this is just a personal preference. You're almost making your own type of pencil, honestly. So yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to position my camera so I can finish off with just a quick little render of what's happening. And then that's the video for today. I hope that you've liked it so far and learned something from it. Finish off with this, and we'll see you next time on Blender Know-How. One more thing. Sorry, I just noticed it in the render. This doesn't look right. Let's fix it. Click here, right click smooth. And now we will see you next time on Blender Know-How.